So is that what you're doing at the moment?
Yes.
Okay. So
They have to assess the call, and then they prioritize it appropriately.
Okay. So
back.
I wasn't sure I heard that. I just heard that when a support call comes in, it's a high priority.
No, when a support call comes in, it's the first priority. They have to take the call and find out what it is. They have to check the emails, and then they prioritize them accordingly.
Okay. How many of our support tickets are coming in via phone or via email? Just roughly.
I couldn't. 25 to 30 a day.
25 to 30 a day?
Mm-hmm.
But are these outside of your implementations, or these are included in your implementation?
Outside, most of them. Yeah, I would say most of them are outside. I'll give you one good example. Macy's, we probably get 7 requests a day for information or research to be done from Karen and Ross, the new guy they just got. I gave Manish some examples of those last week.
So where are the, how do I, at the moment, because you guys put the stuff in Liquid Planner, how do I tell what calls came in yesterday?
I don't know if I can show that because I don't know if the guys are doing a good job of tracking every call they take. A lot of times they'll handle it.
That's a different issue. If I said to you, you're running these guys, how do you know what calls you got in yesterday? Well, it should be in here based upon, forget about whether they put them in or don't put them in. Where are they supposed to put them?
I've got a date entered here, so where did I put that? Here's a created date.
Okay.
So if I want to look at, let's look at yesterday. I only have one.
Okay.
That I have recorded in here. You know, if we take that fell into the high or medium category. I've tried to filter this down to just show the high profile stuff that we're working on.
Okay.
My approach.
Okay, so keep going on your stuff. I'm just trying to understand what you're doing and how you know where you are and what you're going. Because you have numbers, I just want to see where's the data to support those numbers.
Well, follow my thought process here. So again, these were the raw information. Let me go back to that just to make sure you guys understand what I'm talking about in the packages. So for example, here is a project. This folder represents a project in Liquid Planner for First Choice Courier. And then under that project, we have different tasks that need to, kind of like bucket tasks.
Well,
fairly
yeah.
detailed, but not super detailed at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is a project that sits in this current implementation bucket. So, you know, current ones that are underway right now are First Choice Courier, Aquatic Bath, Best Buy's kind of put on hold, Data Rush is current, Daylight we're working on. This one's been
gone.
canceled, yeah. Goodyear implementation is a current one that we're working on right now. This one, this Aurora, is winding down. PAFCO is a current implementation right now. Same Day is one we're working on now. Stone kind of went away.
No, it didn't. It's gone. Just delete it out of there.
Yeah.
There's no point in having things in here that are nonsense. What is Norco?
They just probably never deleted that one out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it? see where it's at.
Well, Stone Brewing, you should take out and put it somewhere else. I mean, it shouldn't be in these things right now. So you don't have to do this all now. It's okay. Just, I want to make sure we end up with data that's meaningful to us, okay?
So this really represents, yeah, I can get rid of the, not sure where I need to move that package, but we'll figure out where to move it. A PG&E, Tapia Brothers, Senior Care is in here. I don't know if we've signed the contract yet, but we put some work towards it, so we've got it in. And then just basically this was kind of a bucket package here. And roll out. These are customers that have already been implemented, but we may be rolling out to additional locations for them. So Metro, we're working on that right now with them, rolling out to 6 more locations. This is part of the Excel Logistics Group. They have some additional work they want to get done. And Longhorn has a couple more locations they want to roll out to. Crisis response, again, same thing with the customer we have. Still need to roll them out to a few more places. We're waiting on them. And then BCI has a couple more locations they want to go to as well.
Okay. What I'd like to also understand with these, are we waiting, is the customer waiting for us to do something, or are we just getting ready to do stuff with them? What I need to know the state of that so to develop, okay? So these are, we want to separate projects which are potentially going to happen at some point when somebody does something versus we're in the process of actually executing the work now. So think about that as you go back to your stuff, okay?
Hold on, I'll take it
now. You need to do it at some point because we want to be able to distinguish between the two.
All right, hold on 1 second.
So, Bobby, could you repeat that one more time? What are you trying to distinguish here?
I'm trying to distinguish between an intent of somebody to do something at some point and an agreement that we're starting a project on this date, working and doing these things, and this is when they expect it to be done.
Okay, so if it's the former, what would prompt that kind of an activity?
You know, they may come to us and say we want to roll out more locations, but they may not have agreed upon when and, you know, and done their part of it, or who knows, you know. So they may, you know, they may have, I don't know, they may have opened new locations. I don't know in the case of these things.
Okay.
What I want to try and differentiate here is when we're dealing with a customer and they're expecting us to do something by certain dates to get work done, you know, so that we know where we are with this stuff. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't want to try and create fictitious priorities, you know.
Well, I'm going to go back up here to our support and implementation high priority. I'm not quite sure how to do this unless to just look at each one of these and talk about them. I did this in the spreadsheet. We could probably filter this out by, where was that column, by the project.
So any high priority task, Greg, I'm going to ask you ahead of time to start to prepare some details for us about what was expected to be produced, what the output was, what the result was, okay? So if you say, for example, oh, we got to do batch routing for reliable lumber, just for an example, I want to know, what does that mean? What's the business expectation here? What do we think we need to do? What do they think we need to do? And where are we? Okay? So that we can match the customer expectations with the effort and what we need to do. All
right. Yeah. I'm going to have some of that level of detail, but I'm not going to have all the level of detail that you're probably
by the way, this isn't a once-off meeting. This is going to happen daily until we work through everything. Okay? So we're going to go through, our first objective here is to identify the top priority work and see where we are with it. You know, I had a meeting this morning with the guys, Tom Karanji, and we did it with Dilip and Mimi and Chasong and myself and Rand, and Tom Karanji related to Goodyear. So we took that project and we went through it and made sure that we all understood what the objective was, what the customer was thinking they were going to do, what we're going to do, what the output was, who was going to do it, etc. So we need to do this with anything that we believe is a high priority issue, and I need to understand why you think it's a high priority issue. Okay? So we're going to take each one of these things. So if you've got anything that's high priority, I want to understand what is it that's high priority. You know, yeah, like, so this list of tasks, yeah, Greg? Do they come out of each of the projects? Is that how this works?
I pulled them out of Liquid Planner, correct.
You pulled them out of Liquid Planner, but they're within the projects in Liquid Planner. Is that right?
Could be within the project. Yeah, they're in some project.
They have to be within the project, otherwise they can't function. I mean,
right, but some may fall under the project. We give each customer its own project, plus we have an implementation project. So yeah, it's in a project somewhere.
I'm confused. What's the difference between each customer has a project versus an implementation project? Surely the implementation project falls under the customer.
Right, and then, I know, but then you've got some that are sitting in the implementation, and then some become their own project once implementation is done. So it's a transition.
Okay.
So in other words, I'm going to have them sitting in this package of current implementations, and then once they're fully implemented, they'll move into the customer package.
Okay.
Well, let's go back to my spreadsheet here and just follow my thought process, and then I can change the details that you want, because I summarized. I did some high, because there's a lot of stuff here, and to start picking through each one of these is going to take us way too long. So
what is high priority? So is high priority, what does that mean to you?
High priority is what we've flagged in the system as something that needs to be worked on right away, as soon as possible. And this is the package that we have flagged in Liquid Planner. So let me go to that package. And let's look at some examples so you can see what we're talking about. So I'm going to expand the package of implementation and support high priority. Then under that, we have the L&W supply project in its entirety. So I can expand that further. So this should have a whole bunch of stuff in it that Dharmendra has been managing.
Okay.
Okay, so that's kind of lumped into this high priority package is all these tasks associated with L&W.
Right. Okay.
I think you're probably familiar enough with the progress there. Being in the office, we don't.
Sure.
I guess the big things are there's a couple dates we need to hit soon, but it looks like we're on target to hit those. Travis is spearheading that pretty well. That's some new, this is more for DILIP, but that's new development DILIP. We're creating a new calendar view for the customer that's web-based, and also we're pushing out our web-based editor to LNW as well. This is about a 900, just shy of 900 opportunity for us.
Right.
Go live at the first pilot location is May 27th, yeah, the day after Memorial Day. And then we roll out to their 8 pilot locations by the end of June. And then complete rollout will be over the course of the next year to their 120-some locations.
Understood.
Just shrink that. So then here's something that's classified as a high-level support. So it's reschedule weekend orders for routing. So he had some details over here. And we can see the date. It was created yesterday. He estimates a time range of 1 hour. He actually completed it, so this has been completed since I ran my test. So here was a fatal error for Central Freight. Oops. So we had a fatal error for Central Freight here. It's going to take me to that one, to that particular project. And that was reported on 4/2. And any of the details associated with it.
Okay.
We're tracking the notes.
Okay.
So what I did was, instead of clicking through that, I pulled,
Yeah,
so that's
I like
where you
it.
get.
Okay, that's good. So that's a good start for us to look at.
Yeah, so what I did was I pulled it out, though. I created this spreadsheet, and then I took a look at all of those things that we have in those different packages, and I added a prioritization that I thought we should be working on. Just basically, let me go over here. I got another filter on.
Okay, so let's look at that list and let's go across. So you've got, so who are these things assigned to? Let's first have a look at that.
Just want to make sure I got the filter turned off here. For some reason this filter's acting funny. Okay.
Okay, so we got these things that are high priority. So where does it tell us who it's assigned to right now?
Column I.
Okay. Oh, no. Okay, but there's a bunch of these things where they're owned by more than one person. So I want to know who's working on it, because are we saying these 2 people are going to work on this thing, or what are we saying?
Yeah, there's multiple tasks within that the person has to work on. So they split the work out. Here's one. David and Darmander are working on that one.
Okay, but you're flipping around there. I don't know. How many hours does Darmander have and how many hours does David have?
I don't know on this one. I'd have to look at the details in Liquid Planner.
Okay, because that's ultimately what we got to schedule, because we can't, you know, if you got 4 people just a couple rows down, we don't know what that means. You know, we don't know, does that mean each of those guys work, you know, half time on it, or does it mean David has, you know, 6 hours and Darmander has 2?
Well, I'd have to look at the details of it in Liquid Planner.
Right. Okay. So we'll look at that later. We'll just kind of see what's going on with us. Okay. So these are the people who can solve the problem. Is that right? Or or doing the work on that issue?
Doing the work on that issue. The
Okay.
assumption is it's one solving the problem as well.
Okay, so let's go across back to that list, because I'm going to ask you to go and do some things with this list when we're done.
Okay.
So what we want to do with each of these things, okay, where there's multiple ones, we're going to create two lines, okay? We see here where it's got, you've got Angela and Tom. We're going to duplicate those lines and put each one for however many.
Well, Bobby, I think we have a lot of this in Liquid Planner already. Liquid Planner does all that work for us. This was just a summary spreadsheet, because if I'm going to have to spend hours recreating what Liquid Planner already does, I don't think that's the best use of our time right now.
Good. I'm not asking to do that. I'm trying to ascertain when we've got how many tasks in here?
Just in this list, 120 some.
Okay, so here's what I can tell you. You can't figure out where the bottlenecks are, where anything is, unless you do that. I've done this many times, okay? So in order for me to assess what we've got here, we need to have, now I understand what's in Liquid Planner. That's what we need is to know, okay, who's overloaded here? Is it Tom Karanji who's got all this work and he can't do it? Is it Dharmendra? Is it Pratima? Who is it here? Where's the bottlenecks? What do we have to solve? Okay? So the way to do that is to take things, look at their priorities, look at the top priority things, look at how much time somebody's got to spend. Because here's what it is at the end of the day. It's a question of people doing work. It's not a question of groups of people doing work, okay? So we need to be able to know who's overloaded, and we can't see that from here, all right? So I can't see this very easily in Liquid Planner, all right? There isn't such a thing there for me to see that. I can't juggle things around. I can't shift things around and go, okay, I'm going to take this thing that Tom has and move it to David. And I'm going to take the other four things that Tom has and give it to Dharmendra. And then I can go, well, Dharmendra's looking overloaded here. Whoa, that's no good too. So the only way you can do this stuff is it's multi-dimensional. It is not a single-dimensional problem. If it was a single-dimensional problem, it would be very easy to solve. It's not. It's a combination of the amount of time something takes, the priority something takes, the priority to the operation that it is, et cetera, et cetera. So the way to do this, and I've done it hundreds of times in many different ways, is to end up with a list of tasks with people's names in that list with the amount of time that it's going to take them to do, and then who the customer is, what the priority is, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to need that data one way or another. So whether we get it out of Liquid Planner or not, every previous system we've had, I've had the guys create that output for me so I can see that data. Because I use this very thing like this, okay? And if I wanted to, just, can you give me control of your list quickly?
Yeah, hold on one second. Okay, you should have control.
Okay, so, oops. So for me, if I want to come in here and I want to have a quick look at, I don't know where the name's gone. Oops. Can you get to the names column here?
Yeah, right there, column I.
Okay. Oops. Okay, so for me, if I wanted to, what I do with these things is I start to do totals on them, and I summarize it. So you can imagine if I just want to see David McEwen's work, it would be what I do in the versions that I deal with. I just do this, and I just see what David's got. And I can sum these things. I can put them in pivot tables, and I can see who's got too much work, who's got too little work, quickly, okay? I don't want to read. There's too much data here, Greg, for me to even attempt to understand it. all right? So in order for me to be able to run this group and help Dilip run this group, is we need to have this information. Otherwise, we don't know what the hell to do. You know, it's like you're stuck in a black hole. So that's what I'm going to ultimately need to do. Now, you're on the way to do it. So this, oops, once you take control back here. You're on the way to do it. So it looks like you're getting a lot of the right stuff, okay? I'm just going to need it to be for the 100 or odd tasks that we want to deal with. We need a way to know in the list where there's 4 people out how much each one, you know, constitutes in that. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure how I can get this information to you.
Well,
because well, Bobby, this is a moving target because I created this morning and have been working on massaging this data for a couple hours, and we've got more work that's come in on top of it.
I understand that, and we know that. That's a given, all right? I understand all of the potential pitfalls, okay? What I'm trying to get to is to say we need to be able to get this out of this thing, okay? So I don't know if there's...
Well, I'm just, take a peek here, and I want to see, because I think we're trying to recreate the wheel, and I can at least see here by person what each one's working on. And maybe I can get...
How many hours is that? How many hours does David have this week working on? You don't know it from here, all right?
Because some of this stuff doesn't have hours assigned to it either.
Of course. So firstly, you've got a bunch of different problems here. You've got data that is not complete. So you can't prioritize work. You can't assign it. You don't know. You have to get estimates, at least an initial estimate of what it means, you know. So that's where you have to start. And then we can start to adjust and filter the stuff. Here's what I think you have done. So I think you've got at least a good starting point of this data. So I want you to send that spreadsheet to Dilip and myself, okay?
Okay.
We can at least start to fiddle around with this. So you have 120 tasks. So how much work do you have to do this week then? If I say
I don't know how much I have to do this week.
Okay. How do you know what you're supposed to have completed this week?
Again, on a daily basis, I'm working with Tom Caranci and resetting priorities constantly because they change and stuff keeps shifting back because of it. So we keep the highest level priorities. The approach is, here's your plan, but you're going to be dealing with issues that pop up. You know, our outage last week, for example, that took away hours of people's time. There'll be support issues that you didn't plan for but pop up that take hours of people's time. So what happens is the project, you put a plan out there, but it doesn't. Most of the time, these guys can't stick to it, especially on the support side, because they tend to be more reactionary than being able to kind of sit and plan their day and stick to their plan.
Right. I understand how it doesn't work. What I'd like to get is, so you've got all of the top priority things here. So what this is I took that list plus my, I think that list it's not perfect, but it's got most of the high priority work in there. Okay.
And then I just laid it out here as to real high level, either what I would consider a customer or an existing project or an implementation that we're working on, kind of lumped in. And these are all, I'd say they're high or super high priority right now. LNW is human resources. Again, big bucket. Macy's support, only because what I put in here, and I lump in this as Macy's support, really is the emails that come from Macy's that want some kind of research done. And it's always something that we need to respond within a day or two on for them.
And so why don't we do this? So all of those things in that list of 150 things, right?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't we do this? Let me, because I need to digest that list a bit, and maybe, you know, we need to, what else did you want to go through here with us?
Well, I'll let you digest the list. But here's, first is this summary of how I see it, right? That's the list that I just showed you. Then I created this column, just kind of things that are on the radar coming up in the next month or so that we need to keep an eye on. LNW, and just some comments here. You know, we're going to roll out to begin 428 for the user acceptance testing and then pilot. I talked about that. Thermo Fisher is a new customer that just came on board. We don't have them in yet. Capel may sign soon. Senior Care Centers is close. Aquatic Bath was tabled for a while. They're coming back on and want to roll out their remaining locations. Then I just threw in here kind of the new editor, getting that rolled out. That's not the change.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is a good list, so we can try and understand what we've got here.
And then what I did, just the last two tabs, Bobby, is I took more. I want to see where we're spending our time, where we're logging our time. Liquid Planner for the month of March. So no client or Cheetah Software. This is the number of hours reported by the whole company. This no client, when you see those, most of that stuff is like Gina's time, other people's time, like administrative stuff. So it's not true account related things.
Okay, all right.
We can get all the details of this liquid itself. Yeah, and so you can see here that the big, I would say these are the big customers that absorbed our time in March, for example.
Okay.
Did the same thing. I did the same thing for the first quarter of this year. So you can kind of see the big players for the first quarter of this year as well. So just some high-level stats.
So this is for 3 months, right?
Yeah, this is January 1st to March 31st for this one, the year-to-date Q1. This was just March. And then, so that was kind of the data I pulled together.
Now this is anybody doing anything anywhere? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and where did you get this data?
Liquid Planner, and I'll show you right here. So just go to Activity Report and under Analytics, Activity Report, and then you can do, I can do a different filter. Let's see, let me do, here's this month, but I can do a custom date range. So let's say I want to look at February.
Okay.
And then this automatically filters all the work and appears in a chart. So you can see all the admin tasks, lunch breaks, support, implementation. Actually, I want to do, I'm sorry, I want to do client. This is the one I want to do. Client report. So here's this month, for example, client report. Boom, 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 boom. And then if you want to look at any of the details, if you
We've got
click on
500 hours against Best Buy.
Let me go back. We'll take a peek at it. 500 hours against Best Buy.
Oh, that's ridiculous. No wonder we have no time.
Let's see, Best Buy implementation. Oh, no, that's hours remaining, Bobby. The blue is hours remaining.
Well, okay. So we need to get rid of that thing. Just delete it.
Hours logged. Yeah. Let's see if we can remove that column.
I mean, you need to either close the project or do something. You know, that's stupid.
Hours logged. There you go. I filtered it on hours logged, so that was just time that was put in there. This is the hours logged to different accounts.
Yeah, and JS Logistics is primarily Keith, so he's not a factor in this.
Yeah,
You've got to take him out. So you know,
so if you dial that in, you can get the details there.
No, I know that, but we don't want that in there because it skews the data. Okay, we want the guys that we are interested in. All right, so Dilip and I are going to look at this stuff, and we'll try and figure out what to do here. Okay.
Okay.
So do you have the key things? I mean, do you have commitments to customers at the moment that you are not meeting?
I think the only one customer commitment that we're not meeting right now, or we're close to, and I think we reestablished that, is with XL Goodyear.
Goodyear we got under control. Are you happy with that, Dilip?
Yes, I think so. So we've just communicated that to the customer this afternoon, and Tom asked for a meeting with the guy, but we haven't heard yet.
Okay. Good. All right. Good. All right. So anything else? Yeah.
No, I think L&W is the only other one we got a little worried about. Travis was worried about that one, but we're
well, that one is most probably going to fluctuate a bit because there's a whole piece of software that they're trying to work on. So that's understandable, and we have to manage what goes on there. And it should not be, you know, the stuff that Tom Karanji has to do and deal with is really going to be more related to the mobiles, the service desk, you know, that type of thing.
right, the training component of it. And that really comes down to once we've got a good, you know, we're done making changes, then we can create the right training documentation for it. So yeah, I'm not, again, those are the biggies.
Yeah, the L&W stuff we pretty much know should do. It may have bugs in it, but it should do a certain set of things. And I don't believe we're changing the scope of the project. So I don't believe that the training should be different to what we anticipated to be.
I still think, well, more specifically associated with the calendar and the interaction of the calendar and the new editor, that has not been documented yet and needs to be once we get it.
Between the calendar and the editor, what do you mean by that?
Well, we need to document the new editor and how it works for L&W and the calendar and how it works, which will be probably a lot of tasks that will get heavily assigned to Vincent.
Okay.
My only other one that I'm really concerned with here, and I guess is, and I have this number 3 on the list here, is the new editor, auto routing, auto dispatch. You know, FedEx, you know, they want to roll this thing out, but they want to make sure we've got issues resolved, and there's still quite a few open issues that they're identifying in the WPF editor.
Well, what we're going to do is Dilip and I are going to go through that project, all right? And we'll go through it with you and with Hal and make sure. Now, Hal has been working on the list. He believes that there's a bunch of things that are all interrelated that are really the bulk of everything that he needs to handle. I'm sure there's other kind of sort of picky cosmetic stuff, but Dilip and I will look at that together with Hal, and we'll come to a determination whether it's Chad just telling us what he wants or how he wants something to behave, and really distinguish that from a real operational impact issue.
Right. And that is not included in this spreadsheet, of course, because the support and implementation team is not working on that right now.
Correct.
So you won't see that in this list of information. I really focused this on support and implementation.
Right. So the FXO Well, for support and implementation for the auto routing, I don't think, I think they have to be brought up to speed once Hal hands it off, which I don't think is going to happen for at least another while.
Okay.
So those calls should come into Hal primarily.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to cut them out of here.
Well, the main thing with that is the proper handover should be, look, our business is repeating business. That's what logistics is. It's things that repeat every day. And within a week, you pretty much are going to see everything that you're likely to see, you know, in normal operation. So if you run something for a week and the number of calls and things dies down, you should be solid. And at that point, you can hand it over. So a good rule of thumb is you can't hand it over until you're not getting a whole bunch of calls every day, you know. So for Hal, he's got to get it stable and solid enough in operation and not be getting all kinds of questions or, you know, things like that, where he can say, well, it's behaving the way we expect, it's pretty consistent, and it should now be handed over to support. And at that point, he has to educate him on, hey, this is how it works, this is what it does, this is where you look for things. And so you need a handoff process with that. So Dilip will arrange a handoff process between development and the implementation group so that there's a switchover point that says, okay, you guys are now responsible for first level, you know, calls. And you don't want to do that too early, and you don't want to leave Hal in there forever, all right, like Chaosong is with the scheduler. So there's a good point at which there's a transition, you know, and at that point you should be getting if you're lucky, one call a week, maybe two, if you're lucky. You know, if things are not working out. Otherwise, they should be able to deal with it themselves. So that's what you should be expecting. So you don't want to hand us stuff over until it's stable, you know. And the same applies to the implementation team, you know. If David is doing an implementation, he needs to continue with it until the clutter dies down, you know.
Right, and that's the approach we take.
You know, so I want to see how many calls are we getting that relate to normal production versus implementations versus, you know, the crossover points, okay? Because that's going to tell us where we need to pay attention. If it's all glommed into one thing, you can't figure out what the hell's going on. Is the software all screwed up, or is this like an implementation issue, you know? Or is this a new piece of software? When you get new software, it's going to break, for sure. And when you put changes in, it's going to impact other things as well. So if you get a spike in support calls, look back pretty quickly, you're going to find somebody changed some software. So we need to stabilize the systems, keep them stable, and not just keep throwing or having these people run around and bang around in the system, okay? Because if they're not careful, they can break more than they fix. So this is going to be a good point for us to look at this stuff and see, okay, what are we seeing here? All right? So we're going to get to that, not today, but that's where we need to get to. Because in order for us to go and say, we need to do the following, we need to understand what's going on. You know, we may have a training issue. We may have a software issue. We may have a routing configuration issue. We may, I don't know, we may have a routing configuration mismatch on what we think we're doing and what the customer thinks we're doing. We need to establish where is it that there's like it doesn't work coming from, okay? You know, right. There could be a bug in the data. There could be a bug in the software. There could be it's not configured correctly. There could be they're not trained properly. It could be they the needs are not matched up right. I need to determine what those things are before we decide how we're going to go and fix this stuff, okay? So that's the first order of business, understanding what we got. I'm not trying to judge it one way or another. I don't think it's good or bad or anything. I just need the data. You know, I have no idea what the solution is until we understand what we're dealing with. You know, once we do that, everything will become a lot clearer to us, Greg.
Right.
Okay? So that's what we need to do firstly, is gather the data. I think you've made a good step here. At least you've kind of eliminated the 6,000 tasks that I dumped out into 150. That's a good start. So anyway, I'm going to look at that list again. I'm going to try and, Dilip and I are going to work on a couple things. We're going to see if we can get the data in a slightly different way. And it may give Dilip a chance to go and putz around in the Liquid Planner and try some of those custom things. And we'll see what we can do. Okay?
And Dilip, call me if you've got any questions. You know, I'll guide you through. There's also some great training videos that are embedded right into Liquid Planner that help you out.
Got it.
So I think this is a good start, Greg. So let's work with this, because I just need to digest what's there. Dilip and I've been talking a lot. So why don't, you know, is there anything you want to go through right now, or Greg, you want to go through specific stuff with Dilip further? At this point?
Digest this and let me know what you guys think.
Yeah. Just tell me the different tabs. So the summary tab is the high priority customers.
Yeah.
Issues are the high priority issues.
I must have a filter on here.
That's okay. Ending.
Turn the filters off. It should have a lot more information. And then these were just some pending implementation and open issues I kind of threw here.
Okay.
The activity March and year-to-date from Liquid Planner.
Okay, great. That sounds fabulous. So let me kind of take this, and I'm going to show Dilip some of the stuff that I have, that I've used, and maybe you know, he can kind of think about what we can do, a combination of stuff here. Okay?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, very nice, Greg. This is good. So this gives us a good feel for what's going on. Now, this is an ongoing process, say. So this is, you know, my goal is for you to be able to, you know, for Dilip to be able to really have a good handle on everything, where everything is, what we're doing, what the expectations of the customers are, all those kind of things. And I want you to work with them. This is, you know, so you're gonna be working closely with them on all of this.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Okay. Well, very good. This is a good start. So I'm going to jump off fast. Do you guys want to carry on, or what do you want to do, Dilip?
Bobby, I think I'm going to take some time to digest this, as what Greg was suggesting, and just try to go through this. So Greg, if you can go ahead and send me the Excel file, and I've already got access to Liquid Planner, so I'll just try to you know, match the two and just try to understand, just digest everything right now.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Greg. And send it to me as well, if you wouldn't mind.
Yep, will do.
All right. Excellent. Thank you very much, Greg.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks.